So I took a little bit more time and did some more sanding to try to get some of these areas nice and smooth. There's a pit there that I am just not going to be able to get, but we'll fill it in. But these other areas, just to make sure that the color wasn't going to bleed through. I do see a little area there. Maybe I'll just take a little bit more time on that. But we'll end up... Now this may be a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not quite sure yet, but we're going to do an epoxy on top of this, and I do think I'm going to come back and wet sand this a little bit more to kind of take that back, maybe get some of the sheen off of it a little bit. But let's continue our prep on this, and I think I want to tape all the way around here, and all we're going to epoxy first is the top here, and then we'll come back and I'll put this up a little bit on stands, and then we'll go around the sides, and then we'll flip it over and do the back. So let's just go ahead and continue our preparation. So I'm going to take a little denatured alcohol. I'm just going to rub this all down so that we get all of our residue off of it. Anything that could produce dust. And that's going to be the color. So when we put the varnish on, or the epoxy, that's what we'll end up getting. This is also going to show us if there's any imperfections that we still need to go back and take care of. Scratch marks, deep scratch marks. I actually think that's going to be a really nice contrast. Okay. And the other part about this is, so the other part about this, one of the things that we want to do, so I want to wipe this off one more time, is I do want to take some tape, and I'm going to tape along the sides here, not necessarily for, epoxy will run, it'll drip, and I'm not going to put a huge amount on there, but the biggest thing is we just don't want any drips to go down. I mean, we can always sand them out, but if we can avoid that, that's the best thing to do. So it's possible that we go down this route of this epoxy and it just is all wrong. Now, I've watched a lot of videos, but you know, sometimes you just want to go off on your own and see what kind of mess you can create. And knowing with epoxy, I mean, we can always sand it down, and we will. We'll take multiple passes on this. We'll probably do 2 or 3, or maybe two, because it's not like the fiberglass where we're trying to keep up on stuff. Now, one of the things that could happen, And I really only want to do this on here. This is okay, but let's take and tape this area up. And the reason why I'm taping this area up is, you know, that fretboard is gonna fold right in there. And the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get that too out of shape, because that fretboard just fits right in there really nice. And then we can always drill those holes out, but you know, this is like one of these things, might as well just, could you fill in the holes? Or does it matter? Should I put paper down in it? Not do this? Actually, I think the best thing to do is just stuff paper in there. But guess what? I don't have any paper. So what I'm gonna do is, let's not mess with it right now. We can always drill it out if we need to. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put on a face mask. And got that taped off. 2-to-1 ratio here. I need a dipstick. And I actually think we're just gonna use one of these. And then we'll put the epoxy. So we're gonna see how this works. The epoxy went on fairly good. It just looks as though maybe there's some trash in it. Now, it's possible we can buff that out, but the epoxy is a pretty heavy coat. And so probably what we're gonna do is let this dry out, see how it flattens. And then we will that'll probably be the only epoxy coat we'll do on this. But we'll see. But then we can start doing varnish coats on that. But I think the color is interesting. I think it's going to get where we want it to be. But we'll do a lot of buffing on this. Let's come back when it's So it's the next day, and it is really cold out here. I didn't keep this out here all night. I took it inside so that it would allow it to dry properly. I even took a hairdryer because there was just a lot of trash in here. Now, would I do this again? You know, probably not. I think we were on a really good path with just the varnish. This has come to it's, as you can kind of tell, there's a lot of green in it, but here's what we're going to do. It's same with like any epoxy, you know, on a boat or anything like that. You're going to have to sand this down, and you keep applying it. So one thing that I didn't film this, but I took and did a 220, and then I did a 400, and I brought it back down. There's some little spots here. I tried to do a little bit of color correction. You know, I'm not good at that, but we're going to use that in our favor as a gosh, I may sand that down a little bit more. We can see that wood, and then we can use it as a little distress on the body. But yeah, I don't think the epoxy is the thing to do unless you did it at the very first time to kind of seal that all up and kind of keep taking it back. But I think it's pretty flat now. There's some, you know, there's a pretty deep groove here that I haven't got out, and I'm not going to try, because the more I get sanding on this, the more it just kind of looks a little like it's getting into the wood, and I don't want to do that. So that's all the sanding we're going to do. We're going to kind of let this kind of sit for a little while. We're going to take it back in, and we'll put a coat of varnish on it with a brush when we get back in.